Well, first of all, the storyline for Not to Be, I thought was great. It was really well thought out, and I liked watching the two-parter. I thought it was very well crafted.
It was great fun to play, great fun to conceive. I thought the episodes were okay. I don't know why they were just okay. I had these dreams of them being colossal, of them being stupendous.
It was exciting too because as an actor, you take the same character, but make these life experiences in the last 6 years completely different. I could erase the entire series from my mind and pretty much start fresh.
Now what? Now you die. That's what. It's just that easy, is it, kid? Yeah. And how come your hand's shaking like an 80-year-old with the DTs? Because I hate you.
And, Stan came back, which was nice.
The scenes were exciting. Of course, I ended up getting killed anyway.
And I killed him again, which they hated me for even more.
Oh, Mythos, please. I thought we were friends.
We are friends. Goodbye, my friend.
Some kind of irony there, I'm sure. If it wasn't Adrian, it would have been Mythos.
Even in the alternative universe, in the Bizarro universe, I killed him again, and that was me just being mean-spirited and a little bit of a prick.
Dennis Barry was directing it, which was fitting because I think Dennis probably did probably a good 25% of all the shows over the 6 years. I think he was probably the most of anybody, and it was fitting that he did the last one.
Not to Be was very much inspired by 40s melodrama, and I tried to reproduce a little bit of the style of shooting of those days. We also found settings and the way we would have white curtain hangings flowing in the wind with beautiful, beautiful kind of huge living rooms that remind me a little bit of the beautiful Hollywood days of the 40s. Was a way to pay a little tribute to the great way directors used to shoot films in those days.
How could you possibly know?
I said, you believe in fate?
I want to.
I'm sorry. Lucy.
Danke. Danke.
Yeah, well, she was so beautiful, and she still is so beautiful, and she's such an ethereal creature. If there was any character on the show who I would have said fit the mold of an exotic, immortal goddess, it was Alexander Van der Noot. She was remarkable, and remarkable as an actress.
I loved watching what would have happened to the other characters. I found it fascinating to see Jim in that light, and Tessa, and what would have happened to Mythos. And so I thought the idea was great and very well executed.
Everyone got to pitch in and be there for a few days.
Seen that one before.
Kill him! Kill that bastard!
What are you? Ghost of Christmas Past.
I think in life, you don't get the opportunity to go back and do things a lot. When something is over, you look back and you sort of wish you'd done things this way or did it that way, and you sort of have to live with what you did at the time, especially in professional situations. It sort of was what it was, and you can't go back. It was an opportunity to go back. And I knew beforehand, I said to myself, really make the most of these few days, because this is it. You thought it was over, but now you really have a chance to go back and shoot a few more scenes on this thing and make the most of it, because it's the end now. And it was very it was a lot of fun just to be able to go and do that.
Unforgettable moment, knowing the show was over.
I think Adrian was going through the worst time of anybody because he was the Highlander. And I think he was excited about not being the Highlander anymore. And I think he was also, a little bit scared of not being the Highlander anymore.
Oh my God, this is the end. It is the end. It's almost the end. And you don't really realize that after having done this for so long, and no matter how many bad times or emotional times or fun times that you had, it's the end. It's not going to happen again.
He was not his usual, because he's usually very, I'm not going to say happy-go-lucky, but he is a good guy to work with. He's he's a real professional, and he's usually got a good sense of humor, and he's a good guy. By that time, Not to Be, he was a little bit tense, and I think it was definitely weighing on him.
The very last fight that we had in that show, when we actually did it, I remember we were in this area which was like a train depot underground. It was all this dust, and everybody had masks on. I remember that was Elizabeth's last day, I think it was, and I was shocked because when they said, "Oh, Elizabeth's now wrapped," I went, "You're wrapped?" And it kind of dawned on me that, oh my God, the show's finished.
Oh, baby. Oh, I thought I'd lost you.
Never. Never again.
Not to Be was kind of it was a little bit scary and a little bit sad and a little bit relief because it was the last show and everyone knew it was the last show.
It was very emotional for all of us. Certainly it was for me as a writer. I'd had this privilege for almost 5.5 years of being able to indulge myself in this great adventure, this great fantasy, this great world we'd constructed, or that had been constructed, and I'd been lucky enough to play in. In a very real sense, it was probably the best job a writer could hope for. There were wonderful people working together, people who had become over the 5.5 seasons. Not just Adrian and Stan Kirsch and Jim Burns and Peter Wingfield and Elizabeth Grayson. They'd all become like family to me, but David Abramowitz, Bill Panzer, I think I spoke to them more than I spoke to my wife and kids for about 5 years, and certainly talked more about Highlander.
And to be in the world of the Immortals is, it was great fun. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons that the Joe Dawson character worked, was that I was like the audience. They knew, we were all in on a secret of the world of the Immortals, and some people were not in on it. And so we're missing a great part of existence and of history and all this sort of thing. And I think that people, in that way, the character was sort of the everyman, that where we could all find our little place to relate and live in the world of the Immortals.
And so all of this was coming to an end. An era of television, in a sense, was coming to an end. This family that we'd sort of helped to create together was coming to an end. And in a sense, our family, this family of writers and producers and people in post-production who had created this wonderful adventure for the audience, had all enjoyed it as much as the audience, and maybe even more. And that was also coming to an end.
It was fun to have everybody back for the last 2 episodes. And I remember actually the way the original script was written was that we were going to, me, Joe Dawson, I believe Amanda, and Mythos were going to toast the audience and say, great. And I said, no, this show to me is more than like a wink to the audience. It means much more. We've had 5 years of history of drama, of comedy, of sadness, of grief, of all this stuff. And to end it like that is not how I think this show should end. And I said, I think he should go off into an uncertain future.
When I finished writing this script, my pass on this script, because we all had some hand in it, I got to the end, the final page, and what every writer does and every television show in the world does is you write the end on it. And I got to that page and I could not write the end. I tried and it just wouldn't come. And I realized I could not end this myself and I wasn't going to. So I sent the script in without the end on it.
Afterwards, post-production, Don Panessa was able to come up with all these great images, and which I looked at, and we chose to see what story we were telling for the end of Highlander. I think in some way we all hoped it would continue in some way, somewhere. What does he do? Where does he go? And I think the idea was, for me at the end, was that he didn't want to put these people that were close to him in that sort of danger again. And so he was going to recede from the world and live his life perhaps in a little more quieter way, perhaps somewhere that is a little bit more of a spiritual way he might be able to find the true meaning of life. It was a great tribute to the 6 successful seasons of a great show.
It was a hell of a run.